Thank you.
Let's go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Investor Party. I'm your host with the most of the most, Jacob Jennings, here to support you in everything you were trying to do today. So one of the biggest things that I have come across as I've been watching new entrepreneurs get started in their business is overcoming their own past, right? Most of it is based on their credit. You see, a lot of people are scared to go into business because they've got to use their credit cards or their seed capital. And when that's gone, it's gone. There's nothing there to help you go further. Well, that's a problem because once that's gone, well, what do? So many businesses go out of business because they run out of capital in the first year. I will find that actual statistic out because I know it's here somewhere, but I will find the statistic out and we'll be able to share about that here in the program. But first, I want to talk to you guys. I want to see where you guys are. So go ahead and unmute yourselves. You're going to be participating here. What do you think what is business credit to you? What does that mean to you guys here on the call? And on Facebook, you can type in the comments section. What is business credit in your opinion?
I know currently for my husband and I, what we're doing, he's already applied, I think, for our DUNS number and done some other applications and things to be able to develop credit the same way that we do for our personal finances. But because our corporation is an entity of its own, it has to establish good relationships with companies and gas stations and banks and stuff like that in order for us to be able to borrow and continue to gain more capital.
Very good. By the way, I have to say this. I hate your profile picture. You are far too pretty. Even when you're a thumbnail on the screen, your hair and the flower and the glowing skin, I'm like, I need to stop focusing on you. Like, I'm just gonna make you like a black screen so no one can see you.
Literally the best picture I ever took of myself on Snapchat, and I just love it so much because I do not look like that in real life.
At least she admits it. She's like, really, what I really am is I'm like a 400-pound like whale of a human being. I put on a wig. I don't really have friends. Like, that's what I'm getting from that statement.
So I will keep that picture and hold on to it.
She's like, I'm going to use that all the time. Oh, Krista just texted me. She's our guest today, so let me make sure she knows how she's getting on. Oh, excuse me. Keep refreshing. She's trying to get. Okay, so yes, you're right. And by the way, Autumn, those are called Tier 3 creditors. So getting like creditors that are gas stations and small little everyday type vendors, those are called Tier 3. And there are three tiers we go through when we are building business credit. We'll talk about that a little more as we go though. But I love how you talked about establishing relationships because that is key in all businesses. Absolutely is key. So what about the others on this call? All the men who don't want to participate. What are you seeing? What do you think business credit is?
I already know I'm letting somebody else answer because I was on the phone call.
Well, then anybody else?
I would say that it's just like personal credit, but you're establishing a credit reputation based on the income and cash flow and credit, positive credit usage of your business entity, not your personal name and social security number.
I would say also like credit history, your credit history. So okay. Depending on how long you've been in business, it's your reliability, of paying back, your debt.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're right about all that so far. Hold on. Chris is sending a text. She wants in. 436. She is awesome. You're going to love her. She actually was on HGTV when she was flipping homes like crazy. And it is really cool that she has become a friend of mine. So she actually started working the lending side because she found that real estate investors were having a hard time getting funding for their flips. And so she switched to helping them build credit. And now she has started business doing that right now. So she's going to be coming on talking about, here she just is right now. Yay. So She'll keep getting more and more there. Okay, so let's see. So yes, it does have something about, so what do you want to really think about is with your business, it's a brand new identity. It's a baby, right? And you want to give your baby the best chance of success. So you make sure to set them up for success for adulthood, their entire childhood. Now the thing is, with a business, from day one, it's able to build what we strive decades to do as a person. So we're gonna let Krista speak more to that now that she is here. Hello, my dear, how are you? Unmute yourself, honey. That's right, try that again, unmute yourself. You're muted. There you are. Huh, still can't hear you, darling. Huh.
Unmute and
There we go.
got it.
Fabulous. Well, welcome to the party, darling.
Hello, darling.
Our special guest today is none other than Krista Garren. Krista, tell us who you're calling on behalf of and what you're doing these days. Come on, darling, make it good.
What was that? What am I doing these days? What was the other question?
And what you're doing. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, we're just doing a ton of business credit. We're working on helping people get out of the rat race of having to use personal funds to get their business either off the ground or expanded or make that next purchase even inside their real estate business or whatever business they're really in. So we want to push everything over to the business credit side these days because we don't want to be giving our social security number or any type of a personal guarantee for what we're doing for day-to-day operational expenses. There's just no reason to at this level.
It's interesting that you call it that. So what people don't realize is that when you have, there's two types of lending that we are going to be talking about. One is recourse, the other one is non-recourse lending. A recourse loan means that you are personally guaranteeing the validity of the loan, which means you're on the hook. You're providing the collateral, you will see this through, your name's attached to it, which is why you have a social security number attached to it.
Correct.
On non-recourse lending, you have an EIN, which is your employer identification number issued by the IRS on behalf of your business. Now your EIN is the one responsible for the repayment of the loan. Okay, so why is that important, Krista?
Well, I think it's important for a lot of reasons. So just like when we're working with real estate and we're looking at properties, we want to protect, we want that separation. We want to take advantage of what they call the corporate veil because we don't want somebody to come after us personally if for some reason we were ever to have to close our business up, close up shop and move on to something else. So when we do not allow creditors to use our social security number for anything other than identification purposes, then they're guaranteeing everything through the business. So then if the business has any debts, it's the business's responsibility to satisfy those debts, not me as a person, not you as a person. And that's really what we want.
That's actually very interesting because you hear a lot about, it was a big stink and it still is apparently, Donald Trump's tax returns and how he's declared bankruptcy, how can he do this? But it really wasn't him, it was his businesses because he knew the secrets going into it. Kind of masterful. We'll say that. So tell me more. So tell us a little bit, what's an overall that you typically tell people about business credit and when they should start looking to build it?
Oh, business credit's just like planting an oak tree 25 years ago and right now in this moment. The best time to plant an oak tree 25 years ago and right now in this moment. I tell people the best time to actually hunt money is when you don't need it. So it's always a good idea for you to be hunting money and resources in your business. And we're pretty well versed with this as real estate investors. But most people, when they think about what they're doing in their business, they think about the system of the business itself. They don't think about working on the business. So first of all, I tell people we need to differentiate between the two. There's a difference between working in the business and working on the business. Working on the business is looking at how are my finances structured, where is my capital coming from, what does my business plan look like, how am I going to scale this if that's what I want to do, and finances play into a major part of that. So if you haven't already started thinking about that, now is the best time, and we want to hunt the capital before we have a need for it so that it's there when we need it. Because the worst thing that you can be doing is have a pressing need for something that you need to purchase or that you need to do and feel that frenzy of, oh my gosh, I don't have all the funds in place. What am I going to do and how am I going to get it? Because it does take some time to hunt down who you want to work with and actually get your trade line set up.
Like
it doesn't happen.
Relationships. Right, Autumn? So that is key. So first of all, I want to start off by telling everyone congratulations and you're forgiven, all at the same time, because everyone that's here, all of us do the same thing. We just jump. It takes so much guts to go and just jump into becoming an entrepreneur and to running your own business, starting off there. And there really is no blueprint. There is no right way. So how I describe starting your business is kind of like making chocolate chip cookies. You pull all the ingredients down, which one goes in the bowl first? Well, you pull the dry ingredients in the bowl first, but which one? The flour, the salt, the chocolate chip, blah, blah. Well, that's up to you. Which one's ready to go? So there is no exact right way to start a business, but the more you learn, the better you refine your process, okay? So if you are, like me, one of those individuals who put everything on credit cards to get their business started and then found out later that it's gonna take longer to get the deal closed, to pay off those credit cards, and now you're finding yourself struggling because you are in massive debt, guess what? You're not alone. But now we know there's a better way. Krista, what is that better way?
Well, okay, so you're talking about the difference again between going forward with personal and going forward with business. Yes. Okay, so Jacob, you're absolutely right about congratulations and everyone's forgiven, because here's the honest truth of it. To go forward, like with all of us, we've all got money invested into education programs, and if we don't, we should, because we want to learn systems that we know have been tried, tested, proven. We don't want to have to reinvent the wheel. But like everybody else, if you're going forward into any type of an education program, usually the type of financing that's going to be used to secure that is going to be personal financing. Why? Because we don't have a business set up at that point. And even if we did have a business set up at that point, what we can't do is walk straight into a major bank and start asking for very large lines and loans at that point, because the business doesn't have two things. It doesn't have history and it doesn't have cash flow and collateral. Right? I would say that's probably the scenario for about 90% of people out there. Okay, but once the business is set up, then you're absolutely right. We do want to move everything over to the business side, and we do have a very specific formula for how we want to get through there. We want to set up 4 different types of credit. We want to do that within a certain amount of time. We want to make sure we pay our bills. We want to be building a really good, healthy commercial credit score, so that when we're done doing those things, then we can walk into a bank and be 100% fundable without the Social Security number. Does that make sense?
For me, it does. Do you guys have questions? Feel free to chime in, guys. This is for all of us. So, what are the 4 different types of credit you're speaking of?
So we're looking at vendor and trade line credit, right? Big stores. Like, if you're working on properties or renovating properties, then I want to look at big companies that I know carry renovation materials. We're looking at net 30 credit, because net 30 credit is something that's usually very easy to get and can cover everything from printing supplies, cleaning supplies. Most of us are working virtually, so your business is in your house, right? Can cover shipping supplies if we have a business that sells things online and wants to ship it out. We're looking at fleet credit. So we want gas cards. We want cards that are going to take care of tires on vehicles, maintenance, things like that. We also want the ability to understand how to finance a vehicle, right? That's that really elusive, mysterious thing where we walk onto an auto lot, we want to get a vehicle. We say we're going to do this for our business, but then we end up using our personal credit to get it done. So we want to learn how we can do that. And we want to finish with Visa and MasterCard credit. Right? That's the one everybody thinks of going to first. That's actually the one we need to visit last.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, why is that? Why is it better last?
Well, we need it last because we have to start small. We've got to crawl before we can walk before we can run. Does that make sense? So we're not going to, if we were to walk into a bank, again, with no business history, we're to go into like a Bank in America or Stagecoach Banking or any one of the large ones, walk in and sit down and say, I would like a business credit card, their answer is likely going to be one of 2 things. That's fantastic. I'd love to give you a card in the name of your business. Are you opening an account here? You are? Great. Can I have your social security number? Right? The other side is, well, do you have, if you don't want to give them your social, do you have 2 years of tax returns? Do you have financials that can show that you have the ability to repay that debt? Right? So you're walking in and you're not armed correctly. The next thing they're going to do is they're going to look at all the information, by the way, that the Small Business Financial Exchange shares on you. And they're going to look to see, well, how have you been handling your bank accounts? They're going to pull your check assistance report. They want to see if you've ever had any NSFs. They want to look at what you're doing. And by the way, they share all of that information between them. So if there's something that goes on your application with them that differs in any way from any other application you've ever done, those kinds of things throw up red flags, right? The next thing you're going to do is go out and try and pull your commercial profile from Dun & Bradstreet, Experian, and Equifax. And if you don't have one, now you're really striking out all over the place, right? Because they're looking at you and they're saying you are an unknown entity. So how do we get around that? We get around that by going through a simple 7-step process to build primary foundational business credit, to establish a payback score, and to build those lines without the social security number so that we can be what I call fundable, so that when you walk into the bank, you know, by then, hopefully you've done some business in your business, because it takes about 6 to 8 months to really go through a system like this. You've hopefully done some things in your business, and you've got your commercial profiles up and going, and you've got a strong paydex score. So they're a lot less likely to say to you, I need your social security number.
So define what a paydex score is.
That's your score through Dun & Bradstreet, right? So that's just like your personal credit has a score, and your personal credit is composed of 5 different factors. Your business credit is only one factor. This is what makes it so exciting. The only thing you have to do is pay your bills on time. If you're paying your bills on time, you're going to be able to build a paydex score. Unlike on the personal side, you have to account for things like, do you have a good mix of credit? Have you had credit for a very long time? How much utilization do you have? Are you paying your bills on time? And how much new credit have you gone and sought after? We don't care about any of that on the business credit side. So we're able to, in a very short period of time, build lines that are 10 to 100 times higher on the business side than we can do on the personal side, just because the rules of the game are different. So all you have to know is you're involved in a system and understand what the rules are. Once you understand what the rules are, then you know how to play.
So that's actually awesome. So let's go ahead and talk about why I found this interesting and intriguing at first. And then we're going to segue into more here. When I opened up Sherlock's Homes, I'm trying to get these kids in a place where they can actually stand on their own feet and ultimately get their own apartments and be contributing members to society and feel good about what they've accomplished. I was coming up with problems because they either didn't have any credit because they're so young, or they have bad credit because they had no one there teaching them how to pay bills on time, or the importance of paying your cell phone correctly, or how to set up credit from the very beginning. So not only are we trying to get them off the streets, we're trying to make them something, turning them to actual contributing adults in the matter of 2 to 3 years. So I was having challenges with that. And I was like, well, how can I get that to be a better place? Well, then Krista and I were talking, and she's like, well, if we build business credit for them, their personal credit will also improve and faster, but more importantly, the business credit will extend them more opportunities than just their personal credit. I thought this sounds fantastic. So what we're going to be doing in our homes is each one that's here for the long term, they actually get to do exactly what we're going to be talking about today, starting a business and building their business credit. So therefore, when they go to rent an apartment, they actually have something that they can show and the business can help them get into it. Kind of awesome. Super excited about that. So, Krista, what are some of the, so you said that you guys are able, you said that the biggest factor they look at in your business credit is, do you pay your bills on time?
Say that again, because we're having some audio interference. There's a little bit of a lag and it's kind of cutting in and out. Is it lagging for you too on your side?
A little bit, yeah. So so you said the most important thing in business credit is your length of history, or your the fact that you pay your bills on time?
It's the fact that you pay your bills on time. And so by on time, let me clarify what that means. Because in the personal world, if something's due July 15th, you technically have till August 14th to pay it without being reported late. Not true on the business side. It's got to be paid the day it's due. And what I tell people is pay it early, right? Just in case there's a snafu. If it's paid even 1 day late, they can go ahead and update the commercial bureaus to show that that payment was late. Every time a payment's late, it's going to affect your paydex score. If your paydex score drops too low, like an ideal score is a score of 80. So if you're not paying your bills on time and it starts to drop too low, then we end up having to abandon that business for credit building and just start over with something else. Sometimes it's easier just to start over fresh with a brand new business than it is to try to fix one that's got a negative credit history associated with it. So pay your bill on time.
So paydex score is on a scale of 0 to 500 or what?
Goes up to about 100. Really, you just want to focus. Most times you're going to be right around an 80, right? So you might start out in the 70s, and then as you start to pay your bills on time and establish more trade lines reporting onto your account, ideally you want to be sitting right around an 80. You can see it fluctuate up. We don't like to see it fluctuate down, but if you're sitting at an 80, you're doing really well.
Okay, so it's a score of 1 to 10, you said?
1 to 100.
1 to 100. Oh, you went around an 80.
80.
Got it. We're having a little bit. Right. 80. Okay, so what are some of the factors most people don't realize would be beneficial in a business credit versus their personal credit?
What do you mean, what are some of the factors?
Some of
the benefits
spend every day that would be more beneficial spending it through the business side versus their personal side.
Oh my goodness. Well, there's so many things, right? So if it's going through personally, then you're deducting it as a Schedule C, right? So you're most likely you're not working within an entity. So if you're not working within an entity, you're not getting to take advantage of some of the tax breaks right off the top that the government gives us. Right? Plus you're doing business in your personal name, which carries a lot of liability. So we don't ever want to be doing that. So right off the bat, just by shifting over into an entity, we're able to go ahead and start to really legitimately write off a lot of the things that we pay for post-tax dollars in our everyday life with pre-tax dollars in our business life. Right? So we're able to secure things that we need in our business, like cell phones and computers, and pay for the gas that goes into our car, pay for the tires that go in our car. Just about anything and everything you can think of, printers, printer paper, cleaning supplies, all the things. So if you want to make a list of all the expenses that you have in your business, this is what I tell people, make a list, right? Just about every single thing that you have that's going on, you're going to be able to write off. Well, you want those business write-offs, right? So if you're working out of your home, you're going to be writing off a certain amount of your square footage. You're also going to be writing off all the supplies that you have. You want those write-offs. I want to do that because if I'm operating out of an entity, I'm going to take an automatic 20% deduction right off the top versus doing it as a Schedule C where I'm doing what's known as an itemized deduction. Does that make sense? So the benefit to the business is, one, you have the tax credit that you're getting, which is going to probably be more than what you're going to get on the personal side. And two, you're losing that liability factor because if you're running this through your personal credit, you have a 1 in 7 chance of being audited by the IRS versus a 1 in 50 chance if you're on the business side. And three, you're building your business credit score, which is going to benefit you in a number of ways. So if you're looking at getting into a real estate deal with someone, we'll just use that as an example, you want to be able to say to them, hey, I have no problem with you checking my business credit. And they're going to be able to see that you're maintaining your obligations, right? Or if you want to go for an SBA loan, you're going to be in a position to because you have focused on running the business finances through the business instead of on the personal side. Right? So you're doing little tiny things. It's small decisions and things you're doing each and every day that's going to build the foundation for you to be able to do much bigger things later, right? Because I think every one of us would love to say, hey, I've got a $200,000 line of credit with Bank of America or Chase or Wells. Well, you're never going to get there unless you start by doing the small things and making good decisions every single day. So just like we have systems for everything we do in real estate, we need to have systems for everything we do in our finances, especially with this.
That's really well said. Having systems for your finances that's a great way of saying it. I really like that. So why don't we all play a game? Let's get some interaction in here. We're going to play a game on what we think business expenses are and personal expenses. So by some participation. Who here has some business expenses they think we can write down? I love that, by the way, the chance of audit, 1 in 50 on being a business and 1 in 7 if you're a personal. That's interesting. That's very interesting. So.
My phone. My phone.
Your phone. Correct. What else do we got here?
Electricity,
Electric. Are we right on that, Krista?
gas, PG&E,
Yes, if you're working out of your house, absolutely. Now, we can talk a little bit about the differences between when you're a homeowner and when you're renting, because that presents a little bit different of a scenario, but yes.
How about if you have a rental facility? If you're renting a space and you have,
Yep, if you're renting a
electricity.
space, absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure.
So we'll have either your rent or a percentage of your homeowner expenses, like your mortgage. You can take a percentage. However, there are some changes that happened with the last tax reform, and I'm not sure how much it is now.
Ooh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
It's about $5 a square foot one time a year for commercial space.
So I put percentage of square footage, which I was right. Thanks, Krista. Okay, so thank you for making me feel so confident. What else do we have over here?
You could write all of your office supply needs, so whatever you would buy from like Staples or Office Max, anything like that. Pencils, pens, paper, staplers, staples, you name it.
Very true.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
So if you need to buy television, that can double as a monitor, right? That might hang on the wall, might keep you connected to the news source, might keep you connected to real estate stocks, might keep you connected to anything. So literally almost anything you have that you're paying with post-tax dollars for, we could figure out how to get that moved over and paid for on the business side.
There's also furnishings.
Correct.
Think of that. Computers.
Mm-hmm.
Cleaning supplies,
Yep.
cleaning.
Oh,
That as well.
Software fees.
Yes.
Internet.
Licensing. Your dues and subscriptions for your business on an annual basis.
Mm-hmm.
We've all got to renew those entities once a year. So that's a big one too. And depending upon where you've organized or incorporated, that can be quite costly.
Yeah, especially the more entities you end up acquiring. What else?
You've got whatever vehicle you're going to use. So that, you got your insurance note, you've got gas, you've got all of it. I'm trying to remember from what we talked about ages ago.
So let's look at some of the things we have here. What about clothing? Ooh, tricky one.
So that's a little trickier. We have to talk to our CPA about that. And we also, when it comes to food and entertainment, the tax laws did change on those things. Food's going to be deductible at about 50%. And certain types of entertainment no longer, right? We used to be able to take prospective partners out to dinner and do things like that, take them to movies, take them golfing. I think when Trump changed the tax law, though, it became an automatic 20% off the top.
If you're hosting an event and then you're bringing in food, drinks, I mean that's all deductible. If you're hosting an event for like business,
yes.
Right? If you're hosting an event.
Yes, assets and events are things that for-profit corporations can actually sponsor on behalf of other entities. So catering for it and decor, that's all actually a business expense, like decoration.
Travel.
Mm-hmm. Travel.
Travel, that's a big one. Hotel, air, car, you're renting a car. And see, some of these are going to fall under what we want to use Visa and MasterCard to pay for. And some of them we can go direct to a provider and get credit lines set up, very large ones in some cases, to cover those costs. So sometimes we go right to the provider. Sometimes we just want to do it with Visa and MasterCard.
So these are all very good things we're going to talk about. And so by the way, clothing was a trick question. Some of us, 3 of us in this call, have ballroom and Latin costumes, which you cannot wear anywhere else. I will admit, I have taken some of my Latin shirts and I have worn them while dusting, just so I make sure I still look good in them. So I have worn them
There you go.
but in the privacy of my own home, because let's be honest, they're a little shiny and delicate. So those are examples of, those are uniform. That is actually sports uniform. And uniforms are considered something different because they are specific to your industry.
Hold on though, because mine are technically deductible. However, what if I dress myself up in my show clothes and use my horse to promote my real estate business or promote my web design business, which is what I did before? Then every single thing I had on that side became a deduction into that business because that was worked into the logo for my company. So of course those purchases were covered, right? So you have to kind of be creative. Now, that was a long time ago. They may not allow that now, but at one time I was able to do that very cleverly. So you might be able to do.
Thing with Sherlock, my dog, when I named an entity after him, made a logo of his likeness.
Right.
He gets royalties, and therefore his vet expenses, his food, and everything like that, I get some deductions off of him, which is super cool.
Oh,
I mean, hell, Lassie did it. All I'm saying, that bitch could do it, why can't mine? And that was not Lassie was a bitch. So here's some ideas of things that we could utilize. Let's go through these and we're going to talk about, okay, Krista, which ones of these, out of the 4 types of credit you have, which one would be, here we go, which one would be phone of the 4 lines of credit?
So your phone and your electronics, your printers, computers, all those things, we're going to approach that through what we call vendor and trade line credit. Now, it can also be purchased with Visa and MasterCard, but I like to use Visa and MasterCard for other things. So phone, electronics, not electric, electronics, software, all that. And even office supplies can be done with vendor and trade line credit.
Okay, vendor and so these are vendor and trade line. Let's take this one off. Okay. Vendor and trade line I have in blue. Okay.
You're so organized. I love it.
Yeah, I'm organized. That's what people know me for. Okay. Shut up, Bo. Okay, now what about car?
Okay, car. So that's going to come through fleet financing, right? So we have a separate spot where we go to finance vehicles. Now that's separate than fleet credit card gas, but it's still considered fleet credit.
Okay.
And that too is going to be one of the last ones we're going to approach. That's going to be 3rd or 4th.
Okay. And so you said that gas is not in fleet credit. That's in vendor lines, isn't it? It's not vendor lines. That's
no, gas is part of fleet. Gas is part of fleet as well, but gas fleet is something we can get a lot earlier on in the process. I don't mean gas like utilities for your house. I mean gas like gas for your car, right?
That's actually what Autumn was talking about before you got on.
Right. When we're talking electricity and gas for your office space, that's something you're going to use Visa and MasterCard for.
I was talking about gas. Visa, MasterCard. Okay. And that's for, so Visa, MasterCard, we're going to be using electric. We're going to be using computers right here. That was under vendor trade line, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see then, what else was under electric, which was Visa, MasterCard? Was deals and subscriptions or dues and subscriptions?
That's Visa and MasterCard.
Okay. What about cleaning supplies?
What about what supplies?
Cleaning supplies. Cleaning supplies and
Oh,
furniture.
that's gonna be net 30. We can do net 30. Office supplies are gonna double between net 30 and vendor and trade. Cleaning supplies will sometimes double as well.
Okay.
But they usually can go under net 30, which is, by the way, the easiest type of credit to get.
Net 30.
Yes.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Marlon. What's your question?
So my question is, hi guys. So I have a question. When it comes to creating an address for my business, is it okay to use a suite at a UPS store?
No. And I just
Okay, this
learned
is a really good question. This is a really good question. So there's a couple of different ways that I can answer that, but here's the truth of it. We want to find a physical address. So when I think about looking for alternate addresses, there's a couple of different ways to go about it. If your business is formed local to where you are, right? So if it's in the same state as where you are, then what I like to do is I like to go and get like a Regis space or like a Plaza Executive Suites, if you have that in your area, somewhere where you can rent a mailbox, but it's in an actual physical office building, right? Because that's going to stand up to the credibility check, what I call the sniff test. When creditors start looking around, they're going to be able to Google it and realize, no, that's an actual office address, versus a PO box, which they don't like, or just a box in a UPS store. Now, I have gotten away with doing that in the past. I don't prefer to do that anymore, right? Just for a lot of different reasons, but I would say look for a mailbox that you can rent in a Regis space or Plaza Executive Suites or anything like that where it's an actual office building. You don't want to use your home address either. You want to stay away from that.
Would it make a difference if the UPS building is a part of the suite complex already?
Well, what you're talking about when you have a UPS address is you're going to have your physical address, like 12345 Main Street, number, and there's a suite number, and then there'd be a dash and your suite number. That's kind of a dead giveaway that you're nestled inside of something that's containing more mailboxes. We want to try and stay away from that, okay? So if the business is local to you, find an executive suite that rents mailboxes. Now, if the business is not local to you, so like for instance, I have a couple businesses that are organized out of Wyoming. I found a registered agent that also provides unique business addresses. So in other words, instead of it being like suite and a letter number, which is what they give to everybody when they act as their registered agent, mine's actually suite and a number that's unique to my business. And since it's in an actual office, it will stand up to the credibility check. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
So on that note, that's my chest, hello. So on those same factors that you want to think, guys, that was so many interesting things, because when I opened up my business, my oldest entity here, I actually did use a PO box at our local UPS store. Now the thing is, I never actually changed it. I never actually used the mailbox, but because I wasn't very good at that point. But it's also, it's not so easy, because if it filled up, no one would call me. No one let me know what's going on. I didn't know to resource it. And also, did not know this. In order to change my business address, I've got to file with the state, pay a fee, and then I've also got to notify the IRS. It's a lot of work, so I can see why people would prefer not to do that.
Yes.
So that's why stuff like this is easier to know in advance. I would rather have paid one of these companies, because I'm researching virtual assistant companies. You get them for $50. Some are like, in my area, they're like 75 for just getting a basic mailing address. And if you wanted to have a live receptionist to forward your calls to, you can do that. And actually, as you scale your business, you're going to want that. I do want someone who can take my calls after hours, especially if I'm trying to house with these kids in emergencies we've got going on with rescues. Having someone else to man the phone all the time is important. So there are different benefits to having a virtual address that I did not even know about besides business credit. So what would we put furnishings, insurance, and rent, food, entertainment, and clothing under?
Those are all going to go for Visa and MasterCard. Those are great examples of expenses that you can take care of with your Visa and MasterCard. So you want to be thinking, Visa and MasterCard is going to come, if you're working with us, right around somewhere between month 6 and 8. So you want to have a strategy for how you're going to take care of those expenses until you get to month 6 and 8. And it might be, if you have to use personal funds, and what I suggest is you make an actual loan into your business, personal account. You simply loan your business the money one time so that it has the capital that it needs until those types of cards and that type of credit comes in for you.
And I think that sounds perfectly fair. And insurance is under which one?
Well, that's also something that you can hook up to a Visa card or a MasterCard.
Perfect. Okay, just making sure. So we've got all this stuff under here. Now, what is, you were saying something about being a homeowner versus a renter.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to elaborate on that, the differences between the two?
Say that again, because you cut out the audio. So homeowner and renter, what's the actual context of the question?
So when we were talking about earlier about what our deductions are versus if you own the property or if you're renting the property, what is that difference?
Right. So when you own the property, you have a mortgage interest deduction, which is a Form 1098, right? So that takes into account all of the interest that you pay on your mortgage during the year. Government says we get to write that off. When we're renting a space, okay, so this is separate from your home, you're renting a space, it's $5 per square foot one time per year, right? So when you're operating your business out of your home office, you're going to want to look to see, well, is my 1098 deduction more or less than what I would get on the business side to write it off? So if I have a space that's 100 square feet, right, and I'm at $5 a square foot, well, I get that deduction one time a year, but my mortgage interest deduction might be more. If that's the case, then you're going to go with the 1098 deduction and not the one that would come on the business side, right? Because it just makes more financial sense to do that.
Very well said. Very well said. Okay, so when you have a business that is down like the credit is so low and things have been problematic. So for example, I'll put this out there so everybody can see I like to be transparent on my show. When I found myself as a solo act versus part of a partnership, and I acquired my business all onto my own because I knew I could do more with it than my partner was letting me do, I took everything, I was ready to go, and I had to go comb through because my partner was the one in charge of our finances. Come to find out, there were some issues in our business account. So now we've been spending, me as in we, having all the voices in my head, we've been spending this time trying to clean up a lot of that mess. That being said, I have no idea what that one entity's paydex score would be, but it's also the one that has all of my wholesale licensings for furnishings. So I have a staging company that I can go and buy blinds, paint, furniture, all sorts of things at cost, which is awesome. But the credit for that is apparently shot. What's the best way to go about repairing that, Krista? I know I'm not the only one in that situation.
So we're talking, which company are we talking about again? Because we just have really bad audio. Are we talking about the home staging company that has a credit issue and you want to repair that?
Yes. When is it,
Okay.
or
So
is it start over?
Again, you would need, well, first you need to take a look at it, right? So the first thing you need to do is make sure that you can actually monitor business credit. What I don't love about monitoring business credit individually with the 3 bureaus is that it can be quite costly, as much as $200 a month, right? So when we work with people, that comes way down to about $24 a month. So just so you're gonna be able to monitor your business credit, because I'm already helping you with this, you're gonna be able to monitor yours for $24 a month. So you want go out and you want to pull it and get a look at where that paydex score is. If that paydex score is below a 77, it can be pretty difficult to get that back up. That being said, it's not impossible, but you have to realize too that if the banks are looking at your commercial profile to figure out if they're going to grant more credit, they may not be interested in granting more credit against that entity. It may simply be easier to create another one, move away from that one with a different name, right? Set everything else up the same and go back in and start applying for credit all over again. So the first thing is you got to know what you're working with. So sometimes it's simpler to walk away than it is to rebuild. It's a little bit different than when you're rebuilding credit on the personal side. We can't walk away from our personal name. We can't walk away from our social security number. But that's the beauty of the business. You could start as many entities as you want, have as many home staging entities as you want, and they can all be credit facilities. And then you can choose to operate your business out any one of those that you choose. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So a DBA is not going to solve a problem in that case.
No, DBA is not going to solve a problem in that case because you're still talking about looking at the root company. And looking, because every company that has a profile, a commercial profile, should have a DUNS number. So just like your social security number, right, is your unique personal identifier, your DUNS number through Dun & Bradstreet is a unique identifier to your credit profile with Dun & Bradstreet, right? Experian and Equifax have different numbers, but mostly we're looking at paydex. So if that paydex is really, really low, then all of the experts that I talk to and that advise and speak into my life, because of course I still have coaches and things like that, they tell me it's easier just to walk away. Start another entity, start over from scratch. It might take you a few months, but eventually you'll be able to get what you're looking for. So first thing, go look at your credit and figure out where the score is.
what are some of the coolest things you've learned? Because you just started doing this journey about 1.5 to 2 years ago. What are some of the coolest things you discovered through business credit that you did not, that most people wouldn't even think to ask? They wouldn't even know to even try to like approach.
So one of the coolest ones is the order of operations in which we really need to do things, because I got stuck in the business credit maze, and starting with Visa and MasterCard lines, I got stuck in that trap of, yeah, absolutely, we'll give you a credit card and we'll just use your social security number to secure it. So that didn't report anywhere. So I went humming along for like 5 years thinking I was building credit, then went and applied for an SBA loan. And when they pulled my commercial profile, they went, oh my gosh, we can't approve you. So one of the coolest things that I learned is we need to stay away from wanting to go directly to where we all want to go first. We need to start small and like building blocks, put these things together. First one, let some trade lines report, then the next tier of credit, let that report, then the next tier, so on and so forth. If someone had ever just spoke to me about that and talked to me about the different types of credit that you can get, like there's credit that reports on your personal bureau, credit that reports on the commercial bureau, credit that reports nowhere. If someone would have really taken the time to sit down and explain those things to me, I probably would have been able to get the SBA loan that I wanted, because I would have gone about doing things differently. But instead, it was just like a 5-year waste of time, and it was so, so frustrating. So I think knowing the order of operations and understanding that not all business credit cards are created equal. Yes, your business name might be on there, and you might be able to spend on that card, but if that card is not building positive payment history for you, then it's really not doing as much, it's not maximizing what it can do for your business. So it's also knowing who works.
Again, it's an entrepreneur. It doesn't, did you hear what I don't know if you heard that, but it doesn't reflect the efforts that you're already putting in as an entrepreneur. It's underperforming.
That's right.
I like how you just said that. It's because no one knows to think about these things. Like pretty much when people go into being an entrepreneur, we all have the same belief that, credit is bad. If you're going to hurt yourself, blah, blah. So you choose to use as little as you can. What do you like? You're told don't use a store card, don't use gas cards. You're told not to do all this stuff on your personal side. So you just assume it's the same on the business side. But when you think of it, B2B,
right,
business to business transactions, literally will give credit cards to their partners on their own. Right? That's business to business. So if Shell or Exxon or so on and so forth, if they're offering those cards to Hyatt or to Publix or to name a business, Dunkin' Donuts, well, that's probably for a reason. Huh. And now we're able to find out what that is.
Credit.
Exactly. So
credit for donuts. That would be dangerous for me. I love donuts.
Is doing what? What would be dangerous?
Oh, you said Dunkin' Donuts, and I'm thinking like credit for donuts. That would be super dangerous to me. I love donuts, so like I would be in there. I would literally be in there every single day, maxing that card out. That would be bad.
This show would be called Free Willy, if that were the case. I would swallow those things like Pac-Man and Tic Tacs, or like Nelson and Ecstasy back in the 90s. Anyway, is he on the show? Is only Please be on here. So, yes, there he is. Okay, so I'm going to hell. Anyway, so something else that's interesting is I'm going through the program right now myself, because I like to endorse things I've tried. So I'm going through the program myself, and I'm amazed at how much that, even though I know so much information about real estate and different ways of structuring different entities and creative financing ways, oh my God, I'm stuck on step one. Like, I'm like, I cannot believe I did this wrong. I did what my attorneys told me to do, but they didn't know. They probably didn't know this. So I'm having to like go and change things, and it's like I'm having to clean some mess up. It's frustrating. But I equate it to being a dancer. You see, when you're dancing, you go to class, and when you're taking ballet class, you spend all this time, half the class at the bar, where you learn how to do your port de bras, you create your dégagés, your kicks, you learn how to dance by holding on to the wall, right? So that is something that you do from your starting day one of dance all the way through your professional level. You never stop doing bar. So as a business owner, I never stop reinforcing my foundation. And because I'm constantly growing and I'm stretching my own mind and building my own business and gaining new skills, I had to take those new skills and backtrack and apply them to my foundation so that those skills stay supported from the very beginning. Does that make sense, guys?
Right.
Yeah.
Good. Now they're paying attention. I love it.
Yeah, it's important. Basics are important. You've got to focus on the basics. And that's what I tell everybody is like some of the credit that we get right out of the gate, it's not big, sexy credit, right? But it is part of the basics. And the basics are what builds your foundation. And the strong, solid foundation is what's going to get you to where you can go in and get the big, sexy credit that you're looking for, right? So we have to start with the basics. To enforce that. I've got clients that have, $3,000 worth of net 30 credit, and I've got clients that have $30,000 in net 30 credit, right? So it just depends on how much time you want to spend at any one tier building and working on that part of your business. Certain types of credit might be more applicable to your business than others, right? So you want to get in there and mine as much of that as you absolutely can. And what I love is it doesn't matter what the utilization is on any existing credit that you have. That's not going to come into play. That's not going to be a factor in you getting approved or denied for additional business credit. So you can get in there and use all of the resources that you have if you're expanding your business, and it's not going to hurt you to get more credit. Whereas on the personal side, if we go take a $25,000 or $50,000 line of credit and max it out, automatically our score is going to drop. It's going to hurt us as a borrower. But on the business side, it actually helps us because we're getting that on-time payment history reported every single month. And that's what we need.
So we have a question on Facebook. What are some of the lenders who give business lines of credit with a payback score?
Well, now that right there is what I call the secret sauce. So there's been years of research and development put together so that we can, and you are about to experience this, see all of the lenders for each tier in one location, which is through your back office, so you know exactly who to apply to and which bureaus they're going to report to. So this is the other problem, the other trap that I fell into is they don't oftentimes want to tell you that. See, this is all the stuff that's just not talked about, right? So we think of Chase as reporting. We think of Bank of America as reporting. I had cards through M&T Bank, right, which is now Elon Financial. Come to find out, those didn't report, thought they did. So there's been a lot of sweat equity put into pulling that list together so that when you get to that stage, Jacob, you don't have to try and figure out who that is. You're going to be able to go in and with a couple clicks of a button, just poof, walk in and start applying with everybody that you know is applicable to your business and you want to work with. And you'll see right away who they report to.
What score do you need to be able to apply for a visa or the time frame?
So again, we're talking about wanting a minimum paydeck score of 80. That's really what we want to see. And what we're looking for is a certain amount of trade lines to be reporting. It's not time, it's number of trade accounts that report combined with the paydeck score. That's what does it for us. And so time is a factor, but it's a factor on our side. It's not a factor on the creditor's side because it does take some time. Once you applying for the credit, getting it and being able to utilize it happens very, very quick. But where we're going to feel a small time delay is when it comes to them reporting out to the bureaus. It typically takes about 30 days for that to update and reflect. Well, watching that business credit, monitoring it, seeing those trade lines report, then tips us off when it's time to go ahead and start at the next tier. So those are all things that the advisory team is going to work with you on as you go through. They're going to be your experts and call and wake you up saying, okay, it's time for you to go in and start applying at that next tier, which that's really, really exciting.
That's what actually was really cool is I was actually trying to fix something earlier today and you called and we lost service. So I actually hit the help button, whatever on the portal. And they called me like in 3 minutes. I was like, I wasn't expecting this. Hi. So they answered all my questions, which means I'm still screwed. So I got to fix this stuff anyway. So I'll get that together. That's all right. I'll figure it out. It's all working together. So I've really enjoyed the fact that they are responsive. They were calling me like crazy last week to get stuff moving, which was awesome. So I'm enjoying that so far. So far I am. So by the way, I may know something. I think Krista, I told her this, but maybe not everyone knows. It's a group poll on Facebook and here. I want you to tell me, this is different. This is not Duns & Bradstreet, but it's a fun little credit question. Who is the biggest user of FICO data? I'll say it again. Who is the biggest user of your FICO data? That is personal credit. All right, so I'll let you guys think that, answer in the chat box. And then I want, Krista, why don't you go ahead and tell us how to find you, what your company is, and what you guys do.
Absolutely. So did you get my email with the booking link? Can we paste that into the chat box?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you drop that into the chat window for everybody, then here's what everyone can do. You can go right out to that booking link. You can pick a time and date that works for you. And then I will actually call you and we will have a 30-minute consultation. So Jacob, let me know if you need me to throw that in there or if you have it.
Got it right there. I'm also gonna put it on Facebook, so you guys can put it on Facebook as well.
Perfect, that's it, yes, thank you. Yep, so you guys can go out to that website. So that website takes you out to our main company, which is Littles and Associates. There's some baseline information out there about us, but then you can also book me straight from that link, or you can simply go out to that website and go to the About Us page, and there is a big giant picture of me and a book consultation button. You can do it that way.
Mm-hmm. And it's not painful. I mean, if you need a safety word, it's equestrian at this point. So, you like that? I thought you liked it.
Never mind, I was about to say something, but it would have been totally inappropriate, so I'll hold that back for later.
We hold back well, we always hold back a safety word, but we're going to hold that for later.
Right.
So,
Right.
things I want you guys to take a look at. If you want to have a consultation on your business credit, do it. I'm going through it right now. I know Nelson is well. Stephanie is. We've got a couple of people going through it. Remember, this is your business. And for me, I did not want to keep having to say, well, I'm running low on funds because I'm growing too quickly. I need to grow. I need to have my business credit grow faster. So that's why I'm doing it. And something that's really cool, which I learned, is like each entity can build their own business credit. And if you have multiple credit entities, like say you have 4 or 5, they can each be growing their credit and lend money to each other. So it's really a cool function of actually being self-sustaining. And you just got to be, you just have to be organized. You have to keep going with it, and it takes a team, which is super cool. So Littles and Associates, they're doing their Business Credit Disruptors program. You do get some discount for being a part of Investor Party. That's something Krista will talk to you about. So
Yes.
for it. And then we had, what was the other thing I mentioned? Oh, so did anybody put in the chat box who they think the biggest users of your FICO credit is? No. Oh, Carlos put Elon Musk. Actually, no. But it is. That is funny as hell, though. What about anybody else have a guess? Anyone? Facebook? Ah, you guys ready to find out? It's going to blow your mind. It is the NFL. No reaction from anybody? Really? Well, fine.
The NFL? Wow.
I'm a little stunned.
Did you say the
Did you
NFL?
say the NFL?
NFL, National Football League.
As
I
in the
was like,
National
what does
Football
NFL
League?
stand for?
What?
Funny. Oh my gosh.
I
That's
love how my
hysterical.
one sports piece of information is coming from me. And it's like about credit, which is hysterical. Yes, the NFL does, which is how they know when to play your favorite sports teams in that area. So they'll look at a demographic and they'll say, oh, well, this neighborhood has a college or a high school football game on this night, so therefore we will either televise it or we will go on a different night to televise this game. They literally will plan their schedules and syndications based around local data that they collect off of the FICO scores for that area. Kind of interesting, isn't it? See, you learn something when you come to Investor Party. Okay, so quick announcement for what's coming down the pipeline. We are going to be having another call on Wednesday. Bo, who's our extra special guest on Wednesday?
If I can remember how to pronounce her name, 1 second. Well, I thought I had that screen popped up. Marlon, it's your friend. Fill us in.
He is not here at the moment.
Oh,
So we
he's
actually
not?
have a very touching story for our women and minoritized leaders on Wednesday. It's actually a great story. She lost She was a real estate investor, had dozens and dozens of properties, was working super hard, got very ill and didn't know why, and lost everything trying to save her life. They found some sort of diagnosis and she was able to rebuild it and has a totally different approach to how she gets into investing and what she sees as real wealth. I cannot wait to talk to you about that on Wednesday.
Shireen Dora.
The moment's over, Bo. Read a room. All right,
I'm
so
sorry.
we also
Forgive
have,
me.
so then we also have on Wednesday, we've got that. And then on Friday, we have our stock recap, as well as Hubo.
You call me while I'm swallowing water. Eva.
We have our high performance coach, Eva Medelik, coming on, talking to us about high performance habits and how she's taking her business to the next level, starting off as a real estate Hall of Famer, as we all know her, turned into a coach for high performing individuals. She was my coach as I got started with these businesses this year, and she is such a powerhouse, and she is a huge reason why my business has grown so quickly. So I can't wait to share that with you guys on Friday as well. That being said, guys, season 2 of Real Estate Survivors coming up, and James and Autumn, you guys are going to be a part of this. I'm going to be sending you information as I have time to type it. So everybody else that was in that chat, we want to make sure that's coming along. Be prepared. It is going to be starting next week. Everyone else, thank you for coming to the party. And until next time, party on. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Krista. Take care.